Not the producers. Not the league. Not even NBC. Because this was supposed to be simple. A quick segment, a cute crossover moment. Look, the college star is here. Smile, wave, talk for 2 minutes, leave. That's what everyone expected. Instead, by the end of the night, the entire building felt different. Phones buzzing, executives whispering, veterans staring at the screen like they'd just witnessed something they weren't supposed to see. Because in less than 2 hours, Caitlin Clark didn't look like a guest. She looked like the main event. And that's when the problem started. Quietly. No breaking news. No dramatic intro. Just a normal NBA broadcast on NBC Sports. Highlights rolling, crowd noise humming, analysts joking around. Then the host casually says, "Joining us tonight, Caitlin Clark." Simple. Harmless. Except it wasn't. The energy shifted instantly. Not hype. Not excitement. Something heavier. Something uncomfortable. Like the room realized. This wasn't supposed to happen yet. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not this fast. Not this big. Not on this stage. But there she was. Calm. Relaxed. No nerves. No rookie awkwardness. Sitting between veteran analysts like she'd been doing this for a decade. And here's the part that blew everyone away. She didn't act impressed. She didn't look grateful. She didn't behave like someone who'd just been invited to the biggest basketball stage in America. She owned it.
The NBA players on set. I'm going to wear stilts next time you see her there with Carmelo and Reggie Miller. And that's with Reggie Miller saying he's the third best shooter in the state of Indiana right now.
There's a new shooter from Indiana. See, I'm the third best shooter in the state of Indiana now. Okay. It goes Caitlin, Tyrese, and now myself.
We'll have to get Tyrese's opinion on that. I'm not sure Tyrese would agree.
So there you go. Caitlin talking about that, poking fun at the appearance. That was one of the first things that stood out. Then there was the important question, which came later in the broadcast about the CBA. And one thing you have to like about it is Caitlin Clark was confident.
She spoke like she owned the room, breaking down pick and roll coverages, calling out defensive mistakes, even correcting the host and former players. Not trying to fit in, not auditioning. She already belonged. And the viewers noticed immediately. Social media exploded. Clips were spreading like wildfire. Wait, she's actually good. Why is she this comfortable? How does a rookie sound like this? It wasn't cute anymore. It wasn't hype anymore. It was authority. And authority? Authority is dangerous, especially when nobody saw it coming. Behind the scenes, fans didn't see the chaos. Phones were already buzzing. Front office staff were texting each other frantically. Are you watching this? Why is she on prime time? Since when did this happen?
Iconic figure in basketball, in women's game right now, or the game in general, about Caitlin Clark. In the game in general, that's all I gotta say is that that is not something that the WNBA would be happy with. We saw it. The WNBPA said that Alyssa Thomas was the reason why people are watching. And by the way, it's not even, people are like, oh, it was the finals about Alyssa Thomas. No. They literally said it wasn't just the playoffs, but our regular season broke records as fans went to watch Alyssa Thomas.
Because for years, the rule was unspoken but clear. WNBA stars stay in their bubble. NBA stays in theirs. Separate worlds. Separate attention. Separate money. Rookies? Don't even think about crossing that line. But Caitlin Clark? She didn't get the memo. Or maybe she just didn't care. While everyone else waited their turn, she walked straight onto the biggest stage in basketball media like the doors had never existed. And then it happened, the moment no one saw coming. The cameras cut to the arena feed, Madison Square Garden. Packed. Roaring. Historic. The crowd wasn't chanting for the NBA stars. They weren't chanting for the game. They were chanting her name. Caitlin. 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 On an NBA night. A WNBA rookie drowning out legends inside Madison Square Garden. That isn't normal. That isn't hype. That isn't marketing. That is takeover energy. And takeover energy? It terrifies the people in charge. Because suddenly, this isn't a guest spot. This isn't a cross promo. This is a shift. And shifts mean one thing. Control is slipping.
The league's biggest star is saying she's confident a CBA will get done. Then there were some other topics hit up on the broadcast as well, including her wanting to play at Madison Square Garden. You know, that is where she was broadcasting from the Knicks and the Lakers. It is a great arena. I've spent a lot of time in the Garden.
Lakers and the Knicks taking center stage here for the 302nd overall meeting. And for the first time ever, we've got basketball night in America, the first Sunday in February. And we're joined by our special correspondent. Welcome to the team, Caitlin Clark. Yes.
First time in MSG for a Knicks game, so it's pretty cool.
I know, it's her first Knicks game, first time feeling.
Inside the WNBA offices, one word kept echoing: unplanned. No one planned for her to dominate a national broadcast. No one planned for ratings to spike overnight. No one planned for NBA fans to pause and ask, "Who is she? I'm watching for her." And that's when the fear sets in. Because once fans follow her, they don't need the league. Once networks call her directly, they don't need the league. Once sponsors want her face, they don't need the league. When a player no longer needs the system starts to panic. Veterans felt it too. Imagine grinding for a decade. Empty arenas, long flights, small paychecks, fighting for every ounce of respect. And then, in one night, a 22-year-old rookie gets more national exposure than most of them ever had. That doesn't feel inspiring. That feels personal. That feels like being replaced. Whispers started immediately. This is too much. They're forcing her everywhere. It's just hype. But the numbers didn't lie. Every segment she touched, ratings surged. Every clip she appeared in, engagement exploded. And slowly, painfully, the truth became undeniable. She wasn't riding the league's popularity. The league was riding hers.
Listen, there's a new shooter from Indiana. See, I'm the third best shooter in the state of Indiana now. Okay. It goes Caitlin, Tyrese, and now myself.
We'll have to get Tyrese's opinion on that. I'm not sure Tyrese would agree.
Right here. She's taking over for me right now.
Into the arena.
Well, I feel fortunate enough. A lot of the arenas we go into, a lot of people are cheering for our team, which is pretty nice.
Snap.
But there are some road games. I think even the Liberty fans, San Francisco, the Valkyries have a great crowd. Like, you want to take them out of it right away. You want to make them call the first time out. I think that's kind of what we always talk about, but that's what makes it fun. And I like what he said. If you're a star, like, these are the games you show up for. And that's really true. Like, these are the games that just mean a little bit more, like MSG on a Sunday night. Like, that's what you get.
That's backwards. And in this game, backwards is dangerous. Then something even stranger happened. She wasn't just good on camera. She owned the room. Hosts leaned in to hear her. Guests deferred to her takes. Former NBA players nodded as she broke down plays. A rookie teaching veterans on national television. That's not normal. That's dominance. And dominance makes enemies fast. Suddenly, it didn't look like, look how far women's basketball has come. It looked like, why didn't we see this coming? And nothing terrifies executives more than missing the future. Insiders confirmed something brutal. NBC wasn't even the first call. Another network hesitated, overthought it, stalled. Classic corporate mistake. Meanwhile, NBC moved fast. Signed, booked, done. Overnight, they owned the story. And everyone else, they missed it. Badly. Here's where it gets tense. When the show ended, the silence was deafening. No celebration. No congratulations. Just a room frozen, watching history unfold, unsure whether to clap or panic.
Iconic figure in basketball in the women's game right now, or the game in general. So we said, let's have a bigger conversation. And it's just so crazy that it feels like every other sport will just come out and say what it is besides the WNBA. The NBA is not scared to acknowledge that there's no more iconic figure in basketball. Not just the women's game, but possibly the game in general than Caitlin Clark. But we would not hear that in the WNBA space. We wouldn't hear that from WNBA media. But the NBA media and the NBA and the league itself is not scared to say it. Like we've seen it when Caitlin does golf events. It just seems like every league but her own is not scared to say the truth. But I do think it's really